How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with another review. A little side-by-side. Because when it's 75 degrees outside, who does want a side-by-side 3 barrel-aged Imperial Stouts? This guy doesn't want to do it, but, you know, gotta pull through. We have to go move forward. I do this for you, the people. It's very hard. Very, very hard. But yeah. Doing a little bit of Southern Swells Brewing. It's their Northern Roots variants. There's 4 variants on there. I have 3 I'm going to put against each other here. We're going to do the rye whiskey barrel, we're going to do the bourbon barrel aged base, and then we're going to do the bourbon barrel aged habanero chocolate, vanilla, and cinnamon. There's a coffee variant that what is it in there, but I only got 3. These come courtesy of Carson. Thank you very much, brother. He sent me off a bunch of craziness, and I've been waiting to do these. I didn't want to open them all for myself, but I did want to do them as a side-by-side, so I have help off camera that's going to help me drink these. So listen, it's 78 degrees, North Jersey. I'm outside. If that doesn't tell you what, you know, Imperial Stout, listen, these come from Florida, so it kind of makes sense. Anyway, let's just open these because I'm just going to talk way too long anyway. So let's get these actually in some kind of semblance of order here. I want to go with the base, bourbon barrel aged. We'll go bourbon barrel aged, and then we'll go this rye whiskey, and then we'll keep the spiced version off to the side because that kind of makes sense in my brain, at least for me. So let's pop this one off, give it a pour, and see what she's all about. Okay, right there. I mean, she looks like a big bourbon barrel aged stout. Nothing too surprising on that pour. Let's see what number 2 has. Never done one of these side-by-sides outdoors. It's super windy because I'm kind of afraid shit's going to fall off this fucking makeshift bench that's been sitting out here all winter, but such is life. Actually, that has quite a bit darker head to it, to be perfectly honest with you. You can see, I mean, you should be able to see it on camera. It actually just looks a bit darker. Not crazy darker, but a little bit darker. And then last but not least, we'll go with a little bit of spiced version here. Pour it up there for effect. Makes it taste better. It's called altitude. It's science. So 3 perfect pours by me. Not really, but I mean, it had dissipated really quickly. They look essentially the same across the board. For some reason, this one had a little bit of darkness to it, but they look like big Imperial Stouts. This one's ended up kind of dissipating a little bit quicker, a little bit more rockier. I assume those adjuncts are at play. This one, like I said, has habanero, chocolate, vanilla, and cinnamon. So it could just be that doing it to the beer. And actually, I'm not sure if you can see, but if these all had similar kind of heads to them, there's a little bit of kind of, you know, kind of blue blocker, kind of lacing, kind of coating legs going on in that one. If you look at this one, this has like actually like a funky, murky, like dirtiness to it. Not so much now that I kind of swirled it, but before when that head was dissipating, it had like a chunkiness going on. So I just assumed the bits and pieces of the adjuncts kind of floating around. So let's go with the base bourbon barrel aged. Smells like a big, rich Imperial Stout. It was aged in bourbon. Sure, I mean, you're getting soft vanilla. Actually, a decent amount of vanilla on that. So it's coming off as a nice, rich vanilla with a little bit of non-hot bourbon character. It doesn't smell like a big, huge, gigantic beer, but it has this kind of rich vanilla-ness to it. A little bit of soft kind of milk chocolate vibes. A little bit of that bourbon that doesn't come out hot. It's not super red fruitiness, just kind of a generic non-hot bourbon. And a big roasted malt character. Let's see what this rye has. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it smells very similar to the bourbon. That sweetness, that vanilla component isn't nearly as big. And there is a little soft, spicy ryeness to it, but not nearly as big as you'd expect jumping from bourbon to rye. There's a soft spiciness to it, nothing too crazy. So knock down that little bit of confectionery sweetness off this one, add a slight touch of spiciness from the rye. That's your difference there, and then we'll take this one. You can see that kind of a little bit of murkiness floating around in this one. Let's see what the spiced version has to offer. Listen, I'm getting super green, vegetal green peppers on that. I'm not getting, what is it, habanero, vanilla, and then what else was in here? Chocolate, vanilla, cinnamon. I'm not getting a big, huge cinnamon component on it. It's more of this kind of green, like green pepper vegetal thing on top of a soft bourbon character. It's not nearly as sweet, not nearly as rich as the base bourbon, but there is something extra to it, and that extra for me comes off more as that green vegetal thing. Not hot, not spicy, but more of a base green pepper as opposed to a spicy habanero or something like that. So let's dive into the bourbon. Yeah, it kind of follows the nose. There is a bit of kind of like evaporative ethyl alcoholiness to it. And a roasted malt character. And the hops are a little bit bolder than what I was expecting based off of the nose. But it's nice, tasty, impactful. I just think this could use a little bit of time. It does come off a little bit hot. It's a little bit surprising based off of how gentle the nose was. So it comes off a little bit boozy. It's a little bit more bittering, both from a roasted malt and a hop component kind of area. But I like it. I dig it. I think if you gave this 6 to 12 months, I think it'd round out into something pretty damn tasty. Let's dive into this rye variant. I mean, you're definitely getting that rye as opposed to just straight up bourbon. That fruit portion of the show, even though there wasn't a big kind of red kind of fruitiness to it, that's kind of what I typically expect a lot from bourbon. And you're not getting any of it here. You're just getting a little bit more kind of like a burnt toasty, oaky woodiness, a little bit more charriness, and a little bit of that rye spiciness. Equal amount of kind of heat on it. But nice. I dig it. I actually like the bourbon better. That's no shock. I'm more of a bourbon barrel person as opposed to rye. The only time rye beers usually kind of do me really well is when they're in a really, really sweet beer. Not that these aren't overly sweet, but I'm talking more like Belgian beers, like a sweet kind of like a rye on rye from like Boulevard or something like that. So hopefully you guys can hear me. It got really windy right now, so I don't know if the mic's going crazy, but let's dive into the spicy version. Yeah, those spices dominate. That cinnamon and vanilla and habanero are way more present in the taste than they are in the nose. And that bourbon character, what we had over here with that sweet, rich, delicious kind of softness and that kind of milky creaminess that I got over here, I'm not really getting that over here. It's more dominated by those spices. The beer is still there, and it's still bourbon barrel aged, and you get all that. And it's not that those spices are heavy-handed and over the top, but they're definitely above both of those, just above both of those, to where they're the kind of predominant kind of flavors in the beer. I like it, though. I'm going to tell you, because you get that nice spiciness from that habanero. It's spicy. It has this kind of pop to it. It gets hot, but it gets to that point where you think it's going to get way too hot, but it never gets there. That's my favorite way for kind of peppers to show up in beer. The cinnamon is present, but not dominant, and that's coming from somebody that eats cinnamon every day. So, or maybe not. You know, I stopped eating cinnamon. I stopped eating oatmeal for breakfast, so maybe I'm just getting a little bit more in tune with cinnamon. I've talked about that. Hopefully that kind of helps me with kind of picking up cinnamon in beers. And the vanilla adds a nice little touch. It's a little bit more of a confectionery kind of vanilla as opposed to the vanilla you get from the wood on the one over here. But a welcome addition. It doesn't kind of overpower anything. Like I said, bigger than the beer, but just big enough to where it's predominant and tasting it, but it doesn't overpower anything. All in all, they're 3 fun beers. I'm pretty sure, I should have looked this up beforehand, but I'm pretty sure I had Northern Roots before, and I think it was just the base or the bourbon barrel aged version. I think it came from Carson previously too. I don't remember them being this impactful, this well done. Just off the memories of what I did previously. So all in all, just in general, these come off more impactful, more fantastical, because that's a word, than the other ones did. And it's a nice kind of showcase of variants, because there is a kind of continuity between all of them. They all taste like a similar kind of stout, but there is subtle differences to it, and I like that subtlety, that change from each one and the other. You're talking about what is it? What's the ABV on these suckers? 10.5% Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout. It's a big beer, so to get that kind of subtle variant change from beer to beer is kind of a cool thing, and it's a cool thing to pull off for a brewer. So for them to do it and do it so well is fun. Brass tacks, I take the bourbon. The bourbon kind of does me well. Actually, let me rephrase that. If I had to choose one, it would be the coffee variant, because I'm pretty sure that one's so awesome. Carson didn't send it to me. Thank you very much, dude. How dare you send off a bunch of delicious beers and not include the 4th variant, fucker. No, the Bourbon Barrel Aged one is my favorite out of the bunch. I would probably go to spiced one at the end, and then coming up a very close third would be the rye variant. Like I said, I like rye, but it has to be used in a specific way, and I don't think Imperial Stout is my favorite kind of way to use a rye barrel. That's personal preference. You might differ, but you're talking about just a showy but not overpowering bourbon character with nice milk chocolate creamy vibes and a nice balance between the beer and the bourbon itself. A nice change up into the rye where you actually get that nice rich rye character, and then ending with that kind of variant with those spices, that cinnamon, vanilla, and the peppers kind of showing up but not being overpowering. They're 3 really well done stouts. Thank you very much, dude. I appreciate you sending these off, brother. I forget what he wanted me to call him this time. I always fuck up his name, but anyway. So let's talk about, are these some of the better Imperial Stout / Imperial Stout variants I've had as of late? They're definitely worthy of being in a conversation. I've had better. There's some stouts that have tickled me pink more than these, but they're absolutely worthy of being in a conversation. If we actually step back and kind of base it off of what we had previously from Southern Swells in this line of Imperial Stouts, I think it's a big step up from what they've done previously. Value and availability, I have no idea. They were sent to me because that happens, and leave you with, if you like what we like these. If you like stouts, you like variants, and you like trying all of them. Listen, if there's anything to be learned from this, it's 1, I talk too long, and 2, open these. Open your variants, please. These beers, it's almost, there's a twofold thing going on. People like to covet them, sell them, resell them. Breweries like to actually have variants because it makes them more exclusive. But I think the core of a lot of these variants is they're meant to be drank, and they're meant to be drank side by side. That's why I'm doing this. I do not want to open huge bottles of Imperial Stout and drink it all. I don't want to do that, but I feel like I would be doing these a disservice if I didn't do them side by side, at least for you guys. And I think that's the way it is at home too. So if you have variants and you're just trying to save certain ones, and you heard ones are better than the others, and this one's the best you know what, just open them all at the same time and decide for yourself, because that's what beer is all about. Having fun, drinking beers, and cows. You can't see the cow, but the cow's here. So there you go, another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a nice little side by side. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers.